Right, back to playing series. Uh, Today chatting with Harvey. And do you like what are we gonna do is just literally break down who the fuck are you, where you come from, why are you doing things, uh, and I'll just let you go. So tell something about what I want to know is your backstory. Uh, why the hell people would even want to listen to you chatting about yourself?
Right. Okay.
Put you on a spot straight away.
My name's Harvey Gombos. I, as you probably already know if you're watching this, do strongman. Basically, a little bit about me, my backstory. I started training. So I got my first gym membership about 3 years ago, slightly over 3 years actually. And the first year I spent like bodybuilding. Basically got into it just because I wanted to lose some weight. Wasn't happy with how I looked. And towards the end of that year, after I'd completed like my body recomposition goals, if you want to call them that, so basically I'd lost a little bit of fat. I started to realize that I was getting quite strong quite quickly. So the following year, in May, I decided to do a strongman competition just for shits and giggles, basically.
How old were you?
Say again?
How old were you when you went to the gym first time?
When I went to the gym for the first time, 19. And then I did that competition when I was 20. Oh no, sorry, it was just after I turned 21. And came second without having done any of the events. I reckon. Well, I don't reckon. I would have absolutely won it if I'd done the events prior to the competition. I came like bottom of the pack on yoke because it's a pretty technical event, and I just had to Hmong strength it. So it's not really the ideal scenario, but I made it work. And based off that, I thought, just let's see how far we can go with it. And then the following year, after having a coach, I think I got Rob Frampton to coach me for a little bit, and then Sam Bollins to coach me. So I sort of got a brief understanding of strength training and like conditioning and stuff like that. And the following year, I decided to do UK's strongest under 23. And to be honest with you, I just entered like thinking I'll hopefully get top 10. And somehow I managed to pull second out the bag, and narrowly missed out on first. And then since then it's been like that second place has been a lot of motivation for me, because prior to that I was sort of winging it a little bit, didn't really know what I was doing, just having fun. Don't get me wrong, I still have fun now, but it's a little bit more serious with an end goal in mind, that being world's strongest man, and to get to Arnold's. So then the following year, this competition just gone, which is a couple of weeks ago, week and a half ago. Again, did UK's strongest under 23, came second again. But to be fair, my performance has improved a fair amount since last year. So just sort of some numbers. I did my 1 rep max this time last year was in deadlift was 260 or 255, and I've just recently pulled 325 quite comfortably as well. So my rate of progression is pretty good, and basing that on like where I want to be in the years to come, I should have a pretty bright future in strongman without sounding too arrogant. But yeah,
should have pulled 340. What I'm more interested is, why the hell did you think you need to train to get better body composition? That's what I want to know, the backstory. What clicked in your head? What I need to train to look better, instead of I need to go and buy Gucci belt.
To be honest with you, I've always been a nerd. Always been a nerd, and have been since being a kid. Just whenever I do something, I'm obsessive about it. And prior to training, my obsession was just games. So one day, my brother, like he's been into training for probably seven years now. And he was like, "Why don't you come along to the gym with me?" And I did, and then realised that I'm not a fan of the way that I look, so I just decided to go that sort of route. And I gradually, after about 2 to 3 weeks, gradually started to enjoy training.
Did you do anything different, like physical at all, like playing any kind of sport or?
Oh, right, yeah. So I've played rugby from an early age. Playing rugby, I think since I was about 7, and then I've been.
So how many years you would say you have actually trained before you even went into gym?
Now, right.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Because people think you've been training 2 years and like, oh, it's amazing, I can do the same. But every single person I have talked to, starting with great Andy Bolton, finishing with yourself, when you actually start digging deep, they have never realized that they had ridiculous fitness behind them. And that's what propelled them to be exceptionally strong, extremely quick.
Yeah. So for me, it's been cycling. Like that's been a constant, just because it was my only way of getting around. And from the age of about 12 to 20, I just used to cycle everywhere, even to jobs that I used to work. I used to do split shifts as a waiter. So I was having to cycle around 25 miles every day, 5 days a week. Did that for about 6 months. And then swimming's always been a constant. So like throughout my life, from being about 7 years old, I've been pretty physically active. I've always had a decent engine, but I've just carried it.
So basically 12 years of conditioning before you started lifting.
Yeah, pretty much. I put a bit of tub on because I like my food.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, you can be as big as you want if you are fit.
Yeah.
You know, people missing out the fitness part usually, and then they just go in a gym. Oh, this guy's been training only a couple of years. No, he hasn't. He has lifted weights for a couple of years. He's trained all life.
Yeah, that's definitely why I'm progressing so quickly. I think it's like a combination of my fitness and my height. They're just brilliant foundations for quick growth. So
yeah, it's what I find. Limiting late is usually fitness, and people still neglect that. They just ignore it completely. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. What do you want to accomplish now? So you tapped into strongman. Obviously, powerlifting doesn't seem like your thing. I got bored very easily with it. So what is the actual goal now that you kind of start to believe in yourself that you can do something meaningful?
So the goal has always been, like, since I've got into strength training, the goal has always been just to get as strong as physically possible for myself. And that will always be the ultimate goal, just to push what I think is possible for me to achieve. And I'd like to get towards strongest man. I'd also like to get to Arnold's. They're two sort of main competitions that, like, I don't think you're a strong man if you don't aim to get to those competitions. Do you know what I mean? You're not really.
What interests me is when you talked about, like, only after placing second on your second attempt, you kind of started to take it seriously and whatnot. Yeah. So what was actual your, like, external and internal struggle? So what I mean by that is, for example, when I started training and going to gym, my internal was like, why am I doing this? Is this going to lead anywhere? You know, am I just wasting my time? And external would be, I was really good at school and everything. Like, I was reading multiple languages and doing chemistry, physics, and all teachers were just going, you're wasting your time. You could be doing this. You could be whatever you choose to be. And I'm like, yeah, I choose to be meathead. Get the fuck off my neck. So what were those things that were holding you back from thinking, I need to take this seriously? Because there was something definitely in your head that was messing you up, and definitely someone from outside that was deeping onto you, like that made you reconsider, is this actually worth trying to kind of go after?
That's a good question.
Start with external. That would be easier. Start with things
So,
that from outside kind of held you back and
held me back.
held you back and pushed you away from taking it seriously from that start.
Right. Okay. So, regards. I don't think it's. I don't necessarily think it was external holding me back in terms of where I wanted to take it. Because as soon as I realized and wanted to go to, so my goal hasn't always been to get as strong as possible. In that first year, I was just doing it for me, and I just wanted to improve the way I looked. It was about confidence. Whereas after that, the year after, I decided that I wanted to get as strong as possible, and I didn't really have much external, like, what's the word? Anyone going against that externally. And if I did, I'd get rid of them pretty much. I did. I was very good friends with someone, and I haven't spoken to them in 2+ years now, just because at the end of the day, if you're not, what is it that Will Smith said? Something about fueling your flame or something along those lines. Basically, if you're not supporting me, see you later. I don't need you in my life. And regards like internal, what was holding me back there, that was just self-confidence. Self-confidence was the lacking part there. And I think it still is, to be honest. Like, I'm not confident in my ability, as you already probably know.
Like everyone else.
Yeah. So it's just a work in progress, isn't
So
it?
going in those things that, okay, someone was chirping on your head and you just got rid of them, and then you are not confident enough and all those kind of things. You always reach kind of breaking point where you just stand around and say, you know what, fuck all of you, I'm just doing it. What was your breaking point? What was that one thing? There is always one thing that you just turn around and think like, I don't care anymore. This is for me.
A little bit of, right, okay, so what happened was there was a little bit of, and I'm not going to go into details, but there was a little bit of a problem or like an issue that was going off at home that they were privy to and they were sort of involved in. And when I realized that their actions weren't for my best interest, it sort of just flipped my perspective and just sort of made me understand. And then I opened my eyes to it and I just wasn't oblivious anymore. And then I started recognizing little things that, like, why are you doing this? You're sort of influencing me in a negative way. And I don't know whether you're doing it purposely or not, but it needs to stop. And it didn't. So I made it stop. Just didn't talk to them again. So yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, most of the time it's not a negative way. They just don't understand. Like the example I might put is my mom used to go and like, you need to stop training because you have these lumps coming out of your body now. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I've traded. I would just hug her and say like, yeah, I know this is the reason why I'm training. She's like, just keep it safe. I'm like, I will. You know, they don't try kind of anything bad. They just don't understand your perspective.
Yeah.
So
to be honest with you, though, I think there was like a kind of partially, they did kind of understand that. That's what initially like opened my eyes to it, because somebody pointed it out to me. Well, it was my brother that pointed it out to me, and I was like, nah, I think you're just overthinking it, mate. And then upon reflection on that, I was like, yeah, you bang on the money, mate. And it just sort of, everything started to fall into place. And at the end of the day, I don't really need anyone like that. They're a crutch at the end of the day. Just something holding
yeah.
me.
Sometimes it's a case that people want you to stay the same because otherwise they feel like they need to change as well, and they don't like that. You're like,
makes them feel.
thing is, as you progress with everything, whatever you do, the more successful you get, you will understand that people who don't want to change will be the ones that are slugging you off.
Yeah, they'll try and stop you from changing
Yeah,
because they don't
try to alienate you and whatnot. But thing is, this is the next question, like not even a question, but point I would like to touch up is you get to point where you kind of realize I did a really good point. Well, this is the best for me. So what was for you that moment when you met the breaking point, then you go through a little period and you understand, you know what, I had to go through that shit because now my life is fucking amazing. I do what I want, I enjoy it, and I can see it only developing, being the better and better and better in future. So what was the point for you? When was that one click when you kind of stopped thinking about that there's something happened in the past that made you change, but now you accept that that change actually made you much better?
Yeah. So initially, I think if it wasn't for that like inner conflict that I was having, I wouldn't have had the initial motivation for training, because that fueled me for about 6 to 12 months worth of training, just as a sort of fuck you, I'm doing this type of motivation. So after that, like, all kicked off, at the time I was training to be a teacher, and then as things progressed with the gym, I realized that I was more like leaning towards being interested with everything training related, like nutrition and stuff like that. And then I went to uni to do teacher training, and I found myself, like, during lectures and stuff, looking things up to do with training and like everything surrounding training. And like, again, there was a bit of inner conflict there. I was like, why am I doing a uni course to be a teacher when I'm spending all of my time outside of uni focusing on something completely different? And then towards the end of that first year, I was like, I need to make a decision here. And then lockdown kicked in, and I was like, yeah, well, what's the worst that could happen? It means I'm not going to have any regrets if I do it. So I did it. I initially swapped from teacher training to sports science, and then realized after talking to you and a few other people that I don't really see the point in uni either. I can learn all of the things that I need to learn from mentors, seminars, courses, everything like that. I don't need to go to uni to study a course that I'm probably going to retain or need to retain 5 to 10% of the information to do what I want to do in the future, which is coaching. So it was just that whole thing is like a collective. That's just made me feel like grateful for the whole thing, because without that, I wouldn't have got to the point where I am now.
So what, when you get to point, you obviously have like a vision, like I want to be there. And this is where actual magic happens, because people don't realize until you kind of have emotion tied to that vision where you want to be, you want to win. And most likely you didn't think about, oh, I just want to compete. You thought about, I want to fucking win and I want to feel how it is to be the last man standing there.
Yes.
And that's when you inevitably start developing the plan in your head. So what was your plan? You probably didn't even think about it at that point, but I can guarantee in back of your head, you knew exactly what you need to start doing and building up from those steps. So what were first steps? You thought, look, I need to address this. Then I need to approach this. Maybe I need to talk to this person. Maybe I need to go there. What were your steps to get to where you're at now?
So regards training, I got onto coaching, like getting my own coach very soon, because I saw the benefit other people were having. As I said or mentioned earlier, I'm quite obsessive in the stuff that I do. So when I decided that I'm going to actually go and try and do this training to the best of my ability, I was researching it and looking at other people that are doing well at the current moment, and everyone recommended getting a coach. So I got on the coaching scene as soon as possible. So I felt like training wasn't really an issue. And then around about the time that I was having that sort of change, shall we say. I was focusing more on like nutrition and doing my own research regards nutrition. So I looked quite a lot at the vertical diet, which at face value, I think it's a pretty good baseline. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff in there that's unnecessary, and you don't need to be as strict as it's making out you need to be. However, that you could take a lot of important and valuable lessons from the vertical diet, which a load of people will probably hate on me for saying, but fuck them. So that's where I started with regards to nutrition, and then the next sort of port of call, and that's been a constant theme, is like form and technique. And I really started to obsess over technique to the point where, because I recognized like an instant improvement as soon as I focused on technique for say 4 to 8 weeks, I'd see my lift shoot up drastically. And I'm still making changes to my technique now, but I just like obsessing over it, because at the end of the day, you can't be too good at a movement. You know what I mean?
Thing is, you have to. How much weight you have gained since we worked together? 20 something kilos. You're
Yeah,
a completely different human being. You need to relearn everything.
Yeah, I was 120. No, I think it might have been a bit less actually. I think it was like 119, 118 kilos. And I started
now?
143. So yeah. To be fair, I'd say I'm probably, give me 4 weeks, I'll probably be leaner then than I was when I was 120, which is insane.
Well, goal is at moment to kind of give your body a bit of rest and recomp slightly, and do not rush your joints so much and whatnot. But so from all this, what do you think is your biggest takeaway, what you have taken away, which you could go and pass to someone else? You know what? I once struggled with this crap, and then I went and did this. And by end of that, I became this kind of person. So what do you think is your biggest achievement from going through all this experience that you could give to someone else and just tell them, if you are struggling, if you want to do something, this is how I would approach it?
So for me, this whole training journey and everything surrounding that, the biggest takeaway for me is the fact that what makes me tick is progression. I find that if I've not had some form of progression in one way or another, I'll start to get like depressed and down, because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than looking like back to a few months ago, and you're being in a worse place now than you were then. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing worse than that. So for me, I'd say find out what makes you tick, and then hone in on that, and make sure that you're able to make that the motivator every day. So for me, if I know I don't do something, I know it'll creep back and slowly just fuck my life up, basically, and nobody wants that. So yeah, that'd be the only thing I could tell someone.
Yeah, I think well, nobody wants that. I think it's a bit of too strong, because a lot of people like being in same place, same time, doing same exact stuff week in, week out, because they feel comfortable doing nothing.
There's nothing that sounds like absolute hell to me.
Yeah, but those are the people that will spend every weekend drinking and taking drugs and just trying to forget the week, because they don't realize that they are feeling miserable on that weekend without that drink, because they're not making any progress.
Yeah.
And alcohol and drugs just make you numb, and you feel amazing until Monday hits you in the face again, and you need to go back to work until Friday and do it all over again. And those people will be the ones who tell you you're not enjoying your life, and you're like, you're in some fog where I can guarantee there are some people that I know, and I can go to the same exact place where they were 5 years ago, and I'll find them there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those are the people who always say you need to enjoy your life. When you look at them, are you enjoying your life? I don't think you are. I don't think you even understand you are alive, because you just exist.
Yeah. Bad, very bad. Yeah, fuck that. I'm not about that.
So what's the bigger picture at the moment? So what you kind of what was your false belief in leading up to finding a coach? So what were your criterias in looking for someone to help you, or what did you think would be the best choice for someone else? If someone would ask you, you know what, I want to be mentored by you, Harvey,
Yeah.
why would you tell them you are a good choice? What would you tell them to look for?
Right. Okay. So I'll answer the first question. What did I look for? When I was looking for a coach, I wanted somebody that had experience, mainly in competing, just because I felt I've always been of the mind that if they haven't done it themselves, they won't be able to understand, and they'll just be guessing effectively. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong in saying that, but I don't care. That's just what I believe. And based off that, that's when I went with Rob Frampton, because I know he's competed at a high level, best mates with Eddie, and at the time that was when all that was kicking off. So Rob was a very good choice. So I got in touch with him, and then the following person that I went from that is to Sam Bollins. And I went to Sam Bollins because he's a Australian strength coach athlete, and I followed Thor and Australian strength coach Sebastian Oro for quite a while before he ended up winning Worlds, Arnold's, and pulling 501. And I just liked their methodology behind training, because I noticed that a lot of people were getting injured unnecessarily just because they were doing stupid shit in training. So that's the main reason why I went with Sam afterwards. And then from Sam, who did I get from Sam? I can't even remember who I went from Sam.
You'd be like, you bastard.
No, it wasn't you. You're the one after, but I can't remember his name.
No, I'm saying that person will be like,
oh, right, yeah. Yeah, so I went with another person. I can't remember his name. I feel really bad. But yeah, I got coaching off him for quite a bit. And I liked his style of training. It was similar to Sebastian Oreb's style. I like how he prepped for comp. He's the one that prepped me for the first junior under 23s strongest man in UK. That was a mouthful. And then after about 6 months, I just wasn't happy with the delivery of it all. Jordan, that's his name. Jordan, just a competitor, a powerlifting competitor that I knew of. And yeah, I wasn't happy with the delivery of coaching. It just wasn't, it seemed a bit sloppy. And then I went without a coach for about 6 months. No, probably less, about 4 months, just doing my own thing. I had a few fuck it sessions and pulled some new 1-rep maxes. And then after that, I'd been following you for quite a while at that point, because I knew that you coached Will Langley. And then when I decided to go with another coach, I thought I wanted somebody that has had previous experience in coaching tall people. So you were one of the only people that had done that. And then I also knew that I needed to fill out my frame a fair bit. And you having your bodybuilding background, you were sort of an ideal candidate, alongside the fact that you were savvy in strength training because of obviously your powerlifting. And then just to sort of tie it in a nice, neat bow, your speciality is nutrition. And that's the bit that I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. And then that was sort of confirmed in the first month of getting coaching from you, because I think you upped my calories from like just over 4,000. I was in a slight deficit, just over 4,000, slowly losing weight, really slowly. And then you put me up to about 6,500. And then in the first 2 weeks, I put on 3 kilos, but I look leaner. I don't know how that makes any sense, but it worked.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you kind of understand what it does.
Well, yeah. Don't get me wrong, I get that now, but at the time it was sort of like baffling. So I put on 3 kilos in the first 2 weeks, and then the following month I ended up losing weight, and I just kept on getting like gradually leaner. I think I lost the 3 kilos and then another kilo on top of that. And then from there, because I was quite lean at that point, that was, well, for strongman anyway. That was the first time I'd seen abs since I was like 5. Hadn't seen abs before, which was nice. And since then, I've just been steadily building up. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, that's the purpose. With you, it's you're big as it is.
Yeah.
You'll never be healthy at your size. And to carry too much body weight is just senseless. And
yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's like now you are not competing. We most likely will strip back a bit in terms of not maybe nutrition itself, but body fat. Whereas I like to keep it a bit higher when you compete, just for injury prevention reasons. And that's when you play around with, like, it's called energy flux. Yeah, well, I'll get you through that. We haven't done anywhere near as much as we can do. Like Broderick laughed. I spoke to him yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, you've been pushing him at 3 out of 10." So like, yeah, I know. There's no need for more. So responds really well. She's like, yeah.
My rate of progression for 3 out of 10 is not bad. I'll take that.
Yeah.
That was, I've not even answered the second question. So with regards to what I could offer, I mean, to be honest with you, I purposely ticked all of the boxes that I was looking for when I wanted a coach, just because I'm presuming other people are in the same boat as I was back then, and they're looking for someone like me, and that's what I've modeled my coaching off, because I wanted somebody that did it all but had like a speciality, and mine's primarily around training. I understand, well, I understand it a lot better than I did. I understand nutrition a lot better, thanks to you, and I feel like I'm able to encompass basically everything surrounding training. And if I don't know it, I've got contacts like you and other people around me that are able to give me a well-informed answer, so I could take it to my clients. So yeah,
I think main issue with your coaching is you don't talk about coaching.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm a fucker for not talking about it.
By the way, I do coach as well. I'm like, oh, I thought you just lift weights.
Yeah, I know. It's funny you say that. I'm going to be having a push regards coaching over the next month or so. Well, not for the next month or so, continually, but I'm going to be starting this month onwards. So yeah, it should be interesting to see where I can take it. Already got a few people on board now, and they all seem to be happy with how everything's going. So yeah.
So what are the plans for this year? Short plans, long plans. We know long plan is getting to World's Strongest Man. But what is that little thing now that takes you over? Because you mentioned yourself, if there is no progression, it's just garbage. You just go nuts. So what is your goalpost next?
So short term, like over the next couple months, as you've already said, body recomp, just see how good I can get myself to look in that, like the next 8 weeks. And then medium term, I've got Andy Bolton's deadlift challenge in October, mid-October. Wanting to pull 360. That's the plan. Like obviously, I'm still yet to try.
Very reserved.
Well, I mean,
I might pull 360. You nearly pulled 340.
But like I've not tried my grip, so you never know. I might have shit grip.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping not. And then by the end of the year, a lot of people don't think I'll do it, but fuck them. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm hoping to pull 380. That's just been a goal that me and you both set quite a while ago. That I've just, like, when I set my mind to things, like I like to go for them with everything. So that's still a goal in mind, and that's the plan, to pull 380 by the end of the year. That's the medium term, and then long term. To be honest with you, like I don't really want to compete again in a strongman comp unless I know it's going to be worth my while. So I don't really see the point in going to a strongman competition and unnecessarily peaking some weird lifts or weird events, potentially getting injured, because there's always a risk of injury, but more so when you're doing events and things like that. I don't really see the point in doing a strongman comp unless I'm going to do well in it. And some people might not like that outlook on it, but that's just the way that I see it. So I'm thinking probably next year, just going to have a long off season until I know that I can come back in and hold my own in open weight. So yeah, that's the plan regards long term.
Yeah. No, I think that's reasonable, especially because you are still young and you have been training for a very, very long time, but with weights, it's just a few years. And let's be honest, you can become so much stronger in next year or two. And one mistake can put you out for a very long time. So giving time your joints actually catch up with your strengths, I think it's very good idea. On top of all that, what social media you actually use now where people can find you? Do you use YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever?
To be honest with you, the only social media that I use is Instagram. I've got Facebook, but I don't post anything on Facebook that I don't post on Instagram, if that makes sense. So at Harvey.Gombos, Gombos, for anyone wondering. That's my Instagram. And to be honest with you, if you want to get a hold of me, that's probably the best place to, because Facebook, I've turned all the notifications off, and I'm kind of shit for responses on Facebook. I don't see the point. The amount of spam that you get as well, it's just...
I deleted Messenger ages ago, because then people messaging me, why don't you reply to my messages? I'm like, message me on Facebook. I will not reply because I can't even receive it.
Exactly.
I just pop up some random stuff and just leave it, and off you go. Yeah, it's not most attractive social media platform, I think, especially for what you do. I think it's more for a general population to moan about rain and snow. Comes out short. No, cool. I'll leave you on that. We'll probably catch up in some point. I'll drop you off to Broderick's website. Do some vlogs there. So that would be cool. But is there anything you would want to add, anyone who's trying to reach out to you? So let me ask you this. What would be your ideal client?
My ideal client would be someone that is wanting to go far in strongman, hasn't been in the game for very long, and they're wanting to go far. That's the main one for me. I'm not really too fussed about age. I'd prefer for them to be similar sort of age to me, bit younger, bit older, not really too fussed. But as long as they've got the same sort of passion and desire that I do, we'll get on. It's as simple as that. That's about it, to be honest.
So young guys who have fed up of waiting their weekends and actually want to do something about it. Become a bit more serious. Become a bit more serious about themselves and actually enjoy talking to someone who has gone through all the shit at, I would say, much higher quality than most coaches out there, because a lot of them are just trash.
Yeah, you've got a lot of bullshitty coaches that
I
they've done
think a lot of coaches are just arrogant in sense that they don't have coaches anymore, and that is massive. To me, that is a red flag. If your coach don't have a coach, don't have
coach
even.
doesn't have a coach, they're not a coach. Yeah, exactly.
It's
100%.
like I go to Tony Robbins seminars, 64 companies, billionaire. Literally to speak to him is $1 million, and it's like 5 years waiting list, and he has 8 mentors.
Yeah.
Someone like that still gets coached.
Yeah.
And then you have bloody, I don't know, Tom the Builder trying to teach you about something and slugging everyone off. Oh, look, that PT has PT. Yeah, that's why he's better than you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're still working.
If you don't have a coach, then you obviously don't believe that coaching works. Otherwise, you'd have one. So, do you know what I mean? As you say, it's a red flag with someone like that. They don't believe in coaching, so they're just doing it to take money off you.
Yeah. It's same like going to school and just sitting there, and it's weird because the way coaching is kind of growing now is phenomenal, because you can progress so much quicker, because you can pick and choose a lot of people around you and then kind of highlight on your notes, right? This is good about him, this is bad about him. I never want to work with him, and let's pick my own kind of slot and just grow in that way. And I see a lot of guys are kind of scared of that, like, oh, I'm doing this, but there are 5 other guys doing same stuff in my area. I spoke to one of the guys I worked with just a couple of months ago, and today I saw a bright picture explaining it. There are an aisle of bread in a shop. How many brands of just white bread do you see there?
Yeah, a lot.
So being afraid that there are too many coaches, there will never be too many coaches. There are 7 billion people out there. And I can guarantee people who want to talk to you, they will not talk to me, or I probably won't talk to them, and other way around. So, but yeah, it's always kind of good into sense of realizing what you want to actually work with. I think you need to be a bit more clear and write it. I keep pestering you all the time to write it down, but one day we'll get there.
Yeah.
That's when you actually get really good. If you just work with whatever, you kind of get too liquid, if that even makes sense.
Yeah. Your message is too vague.
Yeah. If you go to garage, you want to paint a car, you're not going to go to tire shop. You know what I mean? So and they might do the job, but they're not going to do the best job. Whereas, like you said yourself, you have had how many coaches? 4 so far, and you probably have much more in your lifetime. You know what I mean? I at the moment have 1, 2, 3 mentors, and they are all completely different. Like literally, just like day to night. And that's the way how you progress, and that's the way how you give back to everyone who works with. And I think that's a massive value for people who are reaching out to you, because I don't think there are a lot of young guys like yourself who are confident enough to go and reach out for help.
Yeah, no, it's for some reason people see it as a weakness, which it isn't. It's the opposite. It's a strength. It's someone that you can, like, if I've ever got a question, I know I can ask you, and 9 times out of 10, you'll know the answer. Or you'll know somebody, for example, if you don't know the answer, you'll know somebody that does know the answer, and then you can get back to me. You know what I mean? So it's expanding your knowledge base. And why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, well, we learn from each other. That's the thing. I don't ever approach anyone I work with as I'm teaching them. I'm learning from them as well. So that's the massive difference. I think a lot of coaches are just so rigid in their approach that this is one way or another. But like that comes again to just being arrogant and not understanding that there is so many things to know. Like I like this saying from one professor: I know only half of what only 50% of what I teach you I know. I don't know which 50%. So we need to get through this together.
Yeah.
Which is absolute truth. So when you go into all these whatever studies and whatever, a lot of the stuff don't work in real life.
Yeah.
They just don't, because they are so rigidly set out things that in real life will never apply. Like you said yourself, you want someone who has experienced doing something what you do. Like, and you know how when I train you, yeah, when I update your online stuff and whatnot, it's different. When we are face to face, it's completely different.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
the vibe is different as well. You sort of,
and it comes from understanding just the mentalities that comes into being under so much pressure, not just from others, but from yourself. You always want to perform better, you know.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it under control, like I keep drilling in you, fucking celebrate the shit. Even if you fail, celebrate that you tried.
yeah, 100%.
And those kind of things, without experience, you can have all the degrees and whatever, you'll be a shit coach.
Yeah.
Because
without the experience,
you just can't put yourself mentally in their head. There's massive disconnect straight away. So
yeah, exactly.
No, cool. Thanks for your time, and
Pleasure.
I'll catch up with you soon anyway. So I'll post this later. And Harvey, next world's strongest man.
Yeah.
Give you a couple of years. Right. Thanks for that.
Sound. No worries.